Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm building a barn on DIY skills, and here's where I've got to as of March 2023. What you're going to see today is a look back to last year, to one of the more ambitious bits of the build when I built a 2.6 metre stone arch. So this barn workshop I'm building is a pretty significant project, and I'm a DIYer, so I've chronicled the whole thing, including some pretty serious cock-ups, including a particularly serious one involving the first concrete pour you can see here. Didn't go so well, but ended up okay in the end, mainly by hiring a concrete pump. Anyway, since then I've spent months getting the stonework in and up to height, and what you're going to see today is us building an arch between these two walls here. Of course, if you want to see in more detail, then feel free to go back to episode 1, but in any case, thanks for watching. So I've had a delivery, which is a load of 2x4 and some 18mm plywood. It's the thickest you can get. That is going to be forming the base of the frame, the form. I have to say, it's a real puzzle, this. This is not straightforward. So I'm just going to take my time, do it in stages. Now, if you ever build an arch for the first time ever, I think it's hard to imagine a more useful web tool than the blocklayer.com arch designer. I couldn't believe it when I found this. So if we just bang in a few of my own dimensions, right? And there you go, you draw it and you've got the answer. I mean, you can even do things like, do you want a taper cut or not? And then not only have you got that, but you've also got the block here, and it's showing you the dimensions to cut the taper. So it's 150 on the outside, which is what I specified. But if you're going to cut your own taper, which I am, then you need to do 8mm and 8mm. I think that's incredible. Decided to work on the grass and this lawn here. One thing I've got to be careful of, this is going to be very heavy, so there's no point building the whole thing here. Remember that concrete chute I made? That was a bit of a lump. Okay. Right, for the purposes of a shorter video, I'm going to explain this as quickly as I can. This is my arch that I'm trying to come up with, and I basically need to draw onto a bit of wood so I can cut out this shape. Now, here's a bit of wood. This is where it's going to sit roughly. So I need to start off and find the point to draw the curve from. And I'm going to do that initially with a bit of string and a pencil attached to a screw somewhere here. But the thing is, that's not the center of the arch. I can prove it because here's a square. Look at this edge here that goes up to block 13. Well, that height going to this width does not reach block 1. And there's a simple reason, is that the arch will always sit within a circle. Now I could have done it as a perfect semicircle, that's fine, but I didn't want that kind of look, feel, whatever that is. So I've got to find the center of my arch in this bit of wood. So if you put the dot there and we take that forward, the other thing to imagine is that in the actual arch, again, you know, this point does exist, but it's floating in midair. It's another reason why it's important to have a very good form. So this is what I'm going to do. Now this is the bit of plywood I've got. Notice it doesn't go all the way up to the top. That actually was intended. Don't worry about that. That'll be covered in a minute. But I've got to start with this dot here. And then what I've got to do is I've got to draw out a line that goes out here. Again, as I said, using a bit of string going round. That's relatively simple. But the spring angle, as it's called, is 11.4 degrees. So from this point here, the first block doesn't start down here at 0 degrees. It starts at 11.4. You can see all these up here. Arch spring angle, arch sweep angle of 157.2. It's not as easy as you think to measure 11.4 degrees exactly on a big flat bit of wood. So the way to do it is just to work out how high up from my dot this is and go out, and then you can start there. So how do I work out the height of that? Well, it would take a maths genius, or the second most useful thing I found, and I've used this loads, is calculator.net's triangle calculator. So you just put in the bits you want down the bottom, 90 degrees, here's all the figures, and look, anyway, there it is, 253.5. Let's go here. I can tell you that if that length there is 1283, if that angle in there is 90 degrees, which it is, and that is 11.4 degrees, it means that must be 253.6 mil. So that's what you're going to see me measuring out, and then when I've done that, I can draw the line and I can trim the wood, and that's the basis of my form. So here you can see at the bottom we've got the hole here. Everything will radiate from that. So basically every spoke, I'm not saying I'll mount them from there, but every spoke that we measure will be 1309 mil from there going out the way, and that is the line of the bottom of the first one. So the first attempt was using a bit of string with a pencil. Don't do this because there's way too much flex on it. Instead, get a bit of wood, put a screw through it and scratch the line you want. This worked really, really well. Now my form isn't going to be solid plywood, it's going to have kind of spokes in, one for each block. So that's what I'm measuring the width of. In a second, you're going to see me with kind of like a sample spoke that spins around, which I'm going to line up to each dot. Okay, so here's my little swing beam here. I'm getting down nice and low because what I want you to see, I can swing this round and I can now match this up with the little center points that I drew on this groove here. What I can do is I can draw a line down here, a line down here, and that will give me where that baton's got to go. That's what I'm going to do now. Now I'm maybe going to need to, I might do this tomorrow actually when the sun's gone in, got these shadows here, but it shows that as you draw the line back they overlap with each other. Well, of course you couldn't have a baton 25 times radiating from the centre, they'd all be crashing into each other. But it shows that we have the problem quite early on here. Down the old builder's yard, get a bit of timber. The old Mini's still going strong. Maybe push him back a little bit here. Be alright. This has turned up as well. It's a 4 foot by 4 foot tower, scaffold tower. I don't actually need it for today, I could get away with my little platform, but I'm going to need it soon. As you're going to see in a second, I've actually got to construct it within the arch space. So I'm going to carry that down in a second. So there you go, we've now got all the spokes measured out. So next we've got to do is get the length sorted, and to do that we're going to have to trim this board and get it mounted in situ with a new arm, and then we can really make sure we've got this absolutely spot on. It's not light already. Now, let's get that down. As you can probably tell, this wasn't quite as straightforward as I thought it would be, and also it's really top heavy, which I'm about to discover slightly painfully. Right, it's 9 o'clock, Sunday, got a full day, lovely day as well, not as windy, which is good. So to start this again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a frame, just a temporary frame, and then put the thing on top of it, a bit more sensible. Nice new camera angle. So just need to get this up just to take the measurements. So I'm going to rest it on a couple of screws on each side. I'm going to set it too high because then what I can do is take the screws out and just lower it and get it into position that way. But you're doing it better than me. Someone's come to look at buying my car. Hopefully that'll be alright. Right, where were we? Just sold my car. 12:30. Need to get on. Okay, so just to be clear, this is the centre of the arch. I must look that word up. I might be fulcrum. Let's go with it. Okay, and here's the radius. Now here's the line we're expecting, and well, I mean we're over by about 5 mil at this end. Bear in mind though, you know, these stones aren't all even. If you brought it this way, we're under by 5 mil. See what I mean? It's about right. Now let's flip this over, and now we'll go on the other side, and a bit bright. What do we got here? Sorry. Okay, so we are, it's very hard to see, we're about 5 mil under, but again, similar. So as I said, I'm definitely going to work on the idea of having spokes, okay? This is what I think I'm going to go for. So I've got a bit of 2x4 sort of on its side, and then a sort of plate, if you like, at the end. So the idea being is that one of the large stones, the coins, will sit against that. So it's now Saturday the 30th, week later. Done a bit of work in the week, not much, but I have now made these spokes. Got 24 of these here, or just over here. So I'm now gonna start taking these and putting them on the arch. Little test here. It freaked me out it wasn't working, but I had to rotate those pads, and also I haven't cut the taper on that stone yet. Okay, I think these are good. The thing is, there's a 10 mil mortar joint in between these, but I've got to taper these in by 16 mil, 8 on each side. So, I mean, I could get a few more blocks, but the thing is, they're going to be too thick here. I can't see this. So, until I've got some tapered blocks, I can't really test this. There you have it, a load of spokes. Looks very artistic. May not support the weight of the stone arch, we'll come to that, but it looks good, and that's the main thing. No, I'm pleased with that, honestly. It really feels very sturdy. Right, I'm going to sheet of ply to go on the front now, get that screwed in, then a bit more support and structures, and then we're on to cutting a few stones. Right, I'm going to do a quick spin round. So main arch. My daughter just came out and said, it looks like a germ. Funny that, kids, they know what a coronavirus is. Right, this is finished. I'm not going to do any more on it. A lot of support, a lot of wood. It's bracing in all sorts of twists and directions and angles, so I am confident, but you never know. But I think I've gone overkill here. That's the whole point. I really am pretty sure I have. So we'll have to wait and see. So the first job is to cut the coins, and where I've been cutting before, it's a little bit confined and there's absolutely no breeze today. So I've come out here down the end of the build, where I built that nice bit of stonework, still looking okay. Put a tarp down and a pallet, so I'm going to do my cutting here. Here's a bag of coins. I think I've got 30 and I need 25. We'll soon find out that the delivery quantity was as expected. So I've got to cut all of these up. These are what I'm using to build the arch. They're called coins. Basically just cut bits of stone. But they've got a nice surface. They match up well. They are quite brittle, actually, I've noticed. I mean, I don't mean brittle like they're all going to fall apart, but they're quite slaty in their nature. So when you chip them, you get a good sort of slice can fall out. So I'll have to be a bit more careful with them. What concerns me, it's going to be a very fine cut. It's going to be quite hard to get this right.
By the way, these were really tough to cut through, and the stone was far harder than the ones I used in the walls.
Okay, so we have got a taper here. See what I'm after. As you can see, you can cut on this end, okay? You can cut underneath. Now this is supposed to be here, but in the middle it's still protruding a bit, okay? Now, I think that's absolutely fine, because it means in some places on the arch, although it's mortared in, the stones might actually touch each other in the middle. That's not a bad thing at all for stability. You've got the mortar there, and again, they're even compressing on one another. Otherwise, I think that's pretty usable. So I've done 4 of these now to varying degrees of accuracy and quality. So I'm going to go and sort of like dry fit them now, these 4, see what they look like. Because if I've got this wrong, obviously I don't want to plough my way through 25 of these blocks. Theoretically, I can still be able to use these even if they were a bit out, but we'll see. I think it's alright actually. The bottom of each block here should be right in the middle of these. Now these do twist round a bit, so it's a bit misleading. And actually this block here is a little bit low. And there's a big joint there. That's because this is too small here. So very important to keep doing your 10mm joints. And remember, I cut these a shade too narrow at the bottom. So actually what I really need here would be like a sort of 14mm joint, another 14 there, which I've probably got, 14 there, and that would just push everything up by about 3-4mm, whatever. So that's 12 of these done now. As always with these jobs, getting quicker and quicker each time I do them. I'm pretty confident I'm going to have the other half of them done by 3 o'clock, which means I've got enough time to lay them. This is it. Right, this is it. It's 4 PM exactly. A bit behind. Took me till 3:15 to cut all those stones, 24 of them. I think I look like I've aged 10 years. I feel like I have. It's mixed up a good mix here. Mortar, I think it's quite a nice one. And I've got this all sort of ready to go. So I'm going to use some stones here to help it sort of set in. I think if I just try and lay it on the mortar, there'll be too much compression. Interesting, now I've got this one on. Now this one's compressing. Let's see. So I'll talk you through my little problem here. So we want to be in the middle of those spokes, more or less. First one's okay. Second one's about right. Now what I've done with this next block is you can see that I've cut the taper. If you can just see underneath, I don't know if a light will do it. I've not really cut the taper all the way through the middle. I've just focused on the sides where there would be a joint. And because I've done it on both sides, what that basically means is they're butting up against each other way too much. But I think they're too big anyway. So we're going to end up getting the cutter out, which is a bit depressing, circular saw. But that's okay. I'm going to have a little look at this and I'm going to regroup and come back next weekend.
So basically, to cut a long story short, I resequenced them, took them all out, put them in dry here, and basically by doing that I realised that I could get them to fit with just a tiny little bit of trimming. So this is what you're seeing here.
Right, this is it. Wish me luck. Second attempt at laying it. What a great day. Lovely day to be doing this. This job I've been looking forward to.
Well, the observant amongst you will have noticed it clearly goes 9 then 7, and I've only just noticed this myself. I really don't know if that was a mistake or whether I just decided to use another one. But anyway, trust me, it all turns out okay.
Good. Does feel good. Here it is in all its glory, the arch. Usual remarks about joint quality. It's definitely in. That's a lovely site. Really looking forward to getting the frame off and building on top of it. I have to say it does look absolutely lovely. Very, very pleased with that indeed. And no major cock-ups. Right, there's two ways to do this. One, I could just let this thing fall out. It strikes me as a very bad idea, so I won't be doing that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach the top part, the semicircular part. I'm taking these out and let it just drop down a little bit. So I'm going to put a brace in here so that it'll just drop down a few inches. I mean, it doesn't matter how far it drops, because if this thing isn't self-supported, it's going to come down regardless. I'm sure it won't, but I honestly don't know. Sorry if the contrast isn't quite right. Another thing I could try and do is maybe just shift it out. What I don't want it to do is I don't want it to fall like that, because if it falls like that, the back corner will be higher. It will push up on the arch. That could be problematic. And the thing is, if I can move it a couple of feet that way, using a sledgehammer, the ground is just a little bit lower, so it could drop down. I think that is moving. Okay, so it really has shifted. As you can see, the struts bottom left have moved ½ an inch, so that's fine. I think this is a way to do it. Look, there could be problems with this way, but the good thing about this is I'm not in the way of it. So even if we have a big collapse of some sort, it won't be on me or the camera. Fingers crossed. Okay. We've got an arch as it stands. Right, this is it. There we go. Come on. You know what? Could even let it down slowly if I wanted to, but I'm not. That's an arch. I'm not proud of the scaffolding getting lifted in the air. Good job I wasn't standing on it, but I did see that coming, by the way. Brilliant. Wow. Amazing.
Okay, I've come back now, the sun's gone in, just to reflect on it. So, the arch is still standing. God, it looks really thin, doesn't it? Now the frame is gone. Anyway, what else was I expecting? As I look on the underside, it's fine. I mean, I need to brush it all out a bit. But it looks fine. The key thing is I just want to make sure it's sturdy and stable. I'm very sure it is. So I've had a bit of a tidy up down here and removed the wooden frame from where it kind of, I'd say fell. I think the word is collapsed. That's good. Arch is standing, looking nice. As I move the wooden frame, I've realised that the weight of the wooden frame is probably about 5 times the actual weight of the stone arch itself. But that doesn't matter. I've got an arch and it's standing. No one was killed. So I've dropped a plumb line, and when I say plumb line, I mean some paracord or a lump of rock attached to it. And this paracord is draped over the centre point of the arch at the top, the keystone. And as you can see, it doesn't quite line up. We're probably about 30 mil to the right. I think the wind is blowing that a little bit. Reasons for that, there's lots. I mean, first of all, the wall of the arch here isn't entirely plumb. I've done it by eye. Also, if you actually look at the width of the stones in the arch, I mean, they're not equal, so I've got a couple of really thick ones there, width-wise, whereas the ones over here were a little bit thinner, so that's kind of pushed everything across to the right-hand side. That is not a problem at all, but I just want to be mindful of that, is that when I find the top point of the roof up above here, I might just want to slightly recenter it and take some measurements against the left and right hand walls. Okay, so I'm going to end the video there. Here you can see me working this thing up above the arch, and basically this is episode 20 that's in the series, so you can always go and watch it all the way through, but here's the final scene from that one where we're actually taking the scaffolding down after building above the arch. Well, as you've seen already, it does turn out okay, and these images you see here are from March 2023, and we're about to move on to the oak frame which surrounds that. So I'd love it if you join me on the channel. We're already on episode 20. We've got about another 1.5 years to go. So please subscribe to Alex Builds. And just to make your life super easy, look, here is the beginning, and I've included a link here to episode 1. Thanks for watching.